So I had somebody ask me why using the C major scale or just a major scale in general, why it doesn't work over power chords. And without knowing the chords that are being used, what it sounds like to me is the chords that are being used are not in key. So because playing against power chords with a major scale works perfectly fine if you're using the right chord. So we're talking about C major scale. So we'll do some chords that fit with the key C. So let's get a rhythm real quick, and then we'll demonstrate a lead on top of it using the major scale. Alright, now I'm going to use the C scale solo over this. So, what this person was saying, like when they use the C major scale, it didn't sound right, but if they use the C minor pentatonic, then it does sound right. So let's see what the minor pentatonic would sound like over that. See, to me that sounds terrible on top of this. So, it's really all about what chords are being used to solo on top of. So, let's do a different example. So this time I'll use the C5 chord as, in case you're wondering what I just did with the C5 chord, A5, back to C5, and then up to a D5. So now I'm going to do something where I'll do a C5, D5, and E flat 5. Let's do a progression with that. So now I use the C major scale again, and it will not fit. Fit, but no. But if I use the C minor pentatonic, now that will fit. So, why is that? Well, with the first progression I did, the notes C, and D are all part of the key of C major. Using a major scale is basically the same thing as playing in whatever key that shares the same root note, meaning using a C major scale is playing in the key of C. If you use a D major scale, you're playing in the key of D. If you're using an F sharp major scale, you're playing in the key of F sharp. Now, that minor pentatonic worked better than this, the C5, D5, and E flat 5, because the C note and the E flat note are both notes in the minor pentatonic, in the C minor pentatonic. The reason why the major scale didn't work out is because the C major scale has an E, but it does not have an E flat. So, again, without knowing the chords that are being used, I have to make a guess here. And it just sounds to me like you're not using the right chords that fit in with the scale. So, you could make a progression using the notes of the C major scale. So the notes of the C major scale are C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. Or you could simplify that and just say it's A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So you need to know where the notes are on your fretboard in order to make these chords happen. So you could do anything with these chords. You have E5, F5, G5, A5, D5, C5, D5. Any of those chords would work fine with your C major scale, but it wouldn't always work fine with the C minor pentatonic. So I would try that. I don't know. Excuse me. If you're playing the backing tracks, what could be, and I've actually talked about this recently with someone, like say you look up a C major blues backing track. That won't work all the time, because a C major blues song a lot of times we'll be using a lot of dominant chords. So something like C7 to an F7, also using a G7. So you might see, or like a C7 to an F9 and a G9. That's another popular way of going about that. So the backing track will say blues in like our C major blues backing track, and it'll do this. Now using a C minor pentatonic works over that. Using a C major pentatonic works well over that. However, a C major scale will not. The reason being is because, without getting too far into chord theory, there's no C7 chord in the key of C major. There is a C major 7. There is no F7 in the key of C, but there is an F major 7. There is a G7 in the key of C. That is the only dominant 7 chord, which G7, that's what it is. It's a G dominant 7, but you just say G7 for short. That's the only dominant chord in the key of C. Well, that's the only, not entirely true. You can have a G9, G11, G13. Basically, that G note is the only place you're going to have a dominant chord happen. So that could be something that's happening. So let's demonstrate real quick. So let's try the different scales on top of that. So C minor pentatonic will actually work over this. It's actually a very classic blues sound. Using a minor pentatonic over a major blues progression. Now let's use a C major pentatonic. But I still think that major pentatonic works fine. Now let's use the full C major scale, and you'll see, or you'll hear, how it doesn't really match up anymore. notes in key aren't being used in the chord progression. But I know the initial question was about, playing over power chords. So the only other thing I could think of is maybe you just don't like the sound of it. That's could very well be, because even if I did something like using A5, G5, F5, G5, that's a pretty standard. Like Iron Maiden does that kind of stuff a lot. So let's just check that out. I mean, power chords, I'm going to use the C major scale on top of it, and it's going to sound perfectly fine. Just because you're using power chords doesn't mean a minor pentatonic is always going to work. So to really sum up this video, it all comes down to what chords are being used to solo over. If you want to use a major scale to solo with, the chords have to be in key. That's all there is to it. The chords have to be in key. If with the minor pentatonic, you can actually get away with quite a bit of stuff using the minor pentatonic, because the pentatonic uses only 5 notes, the major scale uses 7 notes. So when you have only 5 notes, you can kind of get away with using that minor pentatonic over a lot more stuff, which is one reason using the minor pentatonic over that blues progression can work, because the root notes that were being used chord-wise, you have the C, F, and G. A C minor pentatonic has a C, F, and G in it. The C major pentatonic doesn't. It has a C and a G in it, but for the most part, because it's still based around a major sound, that major pentatonic still kind of fits in. Again, I like the sound of the minor pentatonic better over that, but I still think that the major one fits in a lot better than a full major scale. So I hope this answers your question. If you need more, I guess more in-depth analysis over what's happening, I need to know exactly what chords you're using to play over. So I have to know exactly what chords are going on so I can tell you better. So if you have any other questions with this, or any questions about playing the major scale over stuff, please let me know. Anything about music in general, ask away. Happy to help, and thank you for watching.